to Friday. We made it. It is great to have you here. And by the way, welcome to a special edition of Banfield tonight. I've got a treat for you tonight. A Friday night true crime special. So grab the chips, the beer, box of wine, mocktail, whatever you got, and let's get started. Typically, I come to you every night live with the biggest cases of the week, exclusive interviews with detectives and prosecutors and defense attorneys and witnesses and experts, victims, sometimes victims' family members. But tonight, for the entire hour, I am drilling down on the killers themselves. And not just any killers, some of the most heinous killers of our time. And we have them tonight in their own words. That's unique. Look, this stuff I think you already know if you're watching. It's a passion of mine. I think it is of yours as well. And yes, it's intriguing. And yes, it is suspenseful. But make no mistake, it's not a game. It's not entertainment. Putting true crime on the airwaves and on the internet can actually help to solve crimes, and it can help to save lives as well. It can generate leads. It can jog memories. It can let people know there's a dangerous fugitive out there on the loose somewhere. And then once in a while, we all get the satisfaction of knowing that justice is indeed being served, that a criminal is captured, that a cold case might actually be solved. But even harder than getting justice, sometimes is getting inside the minds of these violent criminals themselves, to understand what their motives are, why they do what they do. And that is what tonight's show is all about. Conversations with killers. You're going to hear from some who say they didn't do it, like this guy, Drew Peterson, who was convicted of killing his third wife after the mysterious and still unsolved disappearance of his fourth wife. You're also going to hear from killers who own up to everything that they're accused of, and then some. Sometimes they actually even dole out advice to other killers. That would be Keith Jesperson, a.k.a. the Happy Face Killer, who is living out his multiple life sentences in what he calls the Club Med of prisons. And we are one-on-one with Keith tonight. And then later, a phone conversation with a murderer on death row, less than a month away from the moment he takes his last breath. It actually might surprise you to hear that he doesn't think about death at all. I think I'm thinking about it more than he's thinking about it. So it's a busy night. Let's just dive right in. Last month, I traveled to a maximum security prison in Indiana to sit down with a former cop. Drew Peterson was sentenced to 38 years in prison for the 2004 murder of his third wife, Kathleen Savio. He almost certainly would have gotten away with it, too, if it hadn't have been for the strange and mysterious disappearance of wife number 4, Stacy, 3 years later in 2007. Drew insists that Stacy, wife number 4, just up and ran off with another man and left behind her 4 little kids and her beloved sister. So naturally, her family just never bought into that. And the investigators took it as their cue to reopen what was called a, quote, accidental death of wife number 3, Kathleen. Kathy was found dead in a dry bathtub only months after she and Drew divorced, and mere weeks before a key hearing on finances and child custody. You know where I'm going with that. Drew Peterson is 70 years old now, and he's in shaky health. And since he's almost guaranteed to die behind bars, and I say almost, I really mean he's guaranteed, I asked him, why not just come clean? Why not just admit it all? And what was so compelling about what he said in his answer, maybe it wasn't so much what he said as what he didn't say. If I were innocent and someone asked me that, I'd say because I'm innocent. I don't have anything to confess, for heaven's sake. But Drew Peterson said something quite different. And the conversation you're about to see is edited only for the camera shots, but nothing else. It's otherwise untouched. Take a look. You're definitely not going to live to 127, that's for sure. So what's the downside of just laying it all out there? What's the downside of just saying it all?
What's the downside? I'm not wanting my children to believe that I killed their mothers. I do not want my kids to think that about me.
It sounds like you did do that, and you just don't want them to know.
No, I didn't do that. I want them to know the truth and believe the truth.
Drew, I just asked you what's the downside of just laying it all out there. And the answer would have been, there's nothing to lay out. Instead, you said, I don't want my children knowing.
No, I don't want them thinking that of me.
You see what I just did?
Sure.
I asked you what the downside is
Sure.
of just laying it all out there and being honest. And you said you didn't want your children knowing that.
We can sit here, and you're an expert interviewer, and you can manipulate what I'm saying any way you want.
I'm not manipulating you. I want to know the truth.
I'm saying it's possible. So it's just like my thing is, I'm very guarded now with what I say to you.
I think you let your guard down.
Well,
I think you just said to me, you're not going to lay it all out there because you don't want your children knowing.
I'm not going to say nothing that's going to make my children believe that I killed their mothers.
What if being honest actually made things better?
I have been honest. And the thing is, telling them a lie that I did something is ludicrous, stupid. If I did it and wanted to come clean to them, then yes, but I didn't.
You know, O.J. Simpson wrote a book called If I Did It.
Right.
And he wrote a book about if he'd done it, this is the way he would have done it.
Right.
Did you ever think about something like that?
No. Not at all.
You never imagine if I'd actually done it, this is the way it would have happened?
I don't think that... Does O.J. get to keep any of that money?
Not anymore.
So it's just like, why do it?
You were about to say something. You said, I don't think that, and then you stopped. What was it you were going to say?
I don't think that would be beneficial for me to write a book.
Why not?
For what? What
We have
reason?
a lot of time.
There's no money. There's no money involved in it.
It's not always about money.
Pay
Not
me.
everything's about a payday.
You're going to pay me, I'll do it.
Don't you want your conscience clear? Don't you want people to believe your truth? You say no one listens to you. Why not write a book?
I would want my conscience clear only if I was guilty. My conscience is clear. So how can I clear it anymore?
Do you fear that you're being forgotten?
It don't matter. I'd rather be forgotten. If I'm forgotten, then nobody's bringing up new charges on me or accusing me of something else. I'd rather forget me.
You really want people to forget you?
Sure. Except my children. Other than that, I don't care.
You don't seem to be the kind of person, from the outside looking in, that wants to be forgotten. You seem to be someone who enjoys the limelight.
Nope. Get me out of it. The limelight is what exaggerated everything and got me in here.
So you're a different person now.
I'm a different person? I'm the same as I always was.
Well, that Drew Peterson loved the limelight.
Yeah, it's just part of my obnoxiousness.
But now you're saying you don't want the limelight.
I want to be forgotten. Leave me alone.
Are you happy that there's fewer letters, fewer headlines?
No.
Some people don't know who Drew Peterson is.
It don't matter. It doesn't matter.
It makes no difference to you one way or the other.
None.
If you're fading from the headlines.
None whatsoever.
Because if you were to decide to come clean and to talk,
I have come clean.
you would no longer be obscure.
Describe your definition of obscure.
Well, fewer and fewer people know who you are. Fewer and fewer people know the story. It's becoming an older story.
Great.
And memories are fading.
Great. Fade. Forget.
So there's nothing that you would do to change that. There's nothing that you would do to say, it's time for you all to know my story, whatever that story is.
It doesn't matter. If I said till I'm blue in the face, I did not do this, people are just going to say, yeah, right. If I said, yeah, I did this, see, I told you, everybody's like, told you so. So it doesn't matter. It has no benefit to me to say anything one way or the other. None.
How do you think life has been so unfair to you? If everything's rigged against you, why is that?
Why? People enjoy seeing policemen in trouble. They really do. I was a policeman for 32 years, and I've seen a lot of cops get in trouble, and people enjoy that. Am I right?
So the whole reason for the disaster that has become of your life, sitting here incarcerated until you're 127 years old, is because people don't like police officers?
No, it's just the prosecution got stuck with this thing. They took it so far, now they're stuck with it. Do something with it. They had to get a conviction.
I think it's a little more complex than that. If you look at your entire life, 4 wives, cheated on all of them with the next, multiple abuse complaints from many of the wives, accusations of murder, accusations of orchestrating the demise of a prosecutor, accusations that you're making that one of your wives is actually alive and that her sister is keeping the ruse going just to sink you and get publicity. There are a lot of things that have to go against you. There's a whole conspiracy of the world against Drew Peterson for all of those stories to be true.
Okay.
Do you understand how hard it is to believe all that and how preposterous it sounds?
I don't care.
That wasn't the question.
But I'm telling you, I don't care.
But the question was, do you understand why it is preposterous to believe all of those conspiracies?
Right. I understand why. People enjoy seeing a policeman in trouble.
It's all about hating police?
Some of it, yeah.
And the rest of it?
People love gossiping about it. People, if you went out because you have a certain amount of popularity, if you went out and killed your husband, oh my God, holy shit, that's a big story. She had to have done it. And how do you fight your way out of that? Put yourself in my position. How do you get out of it? You tell people you didn't do it. Everybody says they didn't do it. So put yourself in my position. What would you do?
Put yourself in my position, he said. What would you do? What would I do? I would be screaming from the rooftop that I didn't do it. Now, he does say that every so often, but it's not the first answer to every question. I certainly wouldn't be joking about killing people, especially killing wives. Now, hold that thought for a second, because I just wanted to remind you, as you were watching that interview, that was 8 minutes straight, no edits. We wanted to run that raw so that you got the dynamic of what it's like to talk to him. And that's the joy of having this program. It's not like, you know, Dateline, where they cut it all up. This is raw. You're getting every piece of mood that I encountered from Drew Peterson. After we wrapped up the interview, Drew was talking. He kept talking, and we kept talking while the crew was getting a few pieces of extra video, some wider shots and side shots. So I just kept asking him questions, and I asked him why he agreed to even meet with me, since he knew that I was going to ask tough questions. At least I assumed he did. And he joked, and I quote, "Unless you marry me, I won't kill you." I am not kidding. Unless you marry me, I won't kill you. Just have a look at this. Listen closely. Me always wonders why, like if we ask for an interview in a prison, why not? You know, what else you got going on, right? It's just a nice change in the daily.
That's why I'm here talking to you.
But a lot of guys say no.
Say no? Well, someone might have this feeling that you're trying to get them, or this is going to be used against them somehow, or something.
They can hold their own.
So the thing is, some of them can't.
Yeah.
You know, things get twisted and turned. I mean, you get to twist and turn everything I say.
I really do sense, Drew, that you're tired of it all. Like you're just kind of, you're a different person.
I am.
You're a very different person.
I'm tired of it all.
Than when we first saw you. Whatever you thought in the process that you were in, when you were in it, when you were doing perp walks and all the rest, you seem to be enjoying it, or at least you seem to be playing in the circus.
Sure.
And you had a lot of energy, you know? Whether it was mental energy, physical energy, whatever it was, right. You were a very different person.
Okay.
Today, I feel like you're sitting here because, again, why not? But for no other reason. Like, I don't even sense that you are fighting to have me believe you're innocent. Like, I don't feel that you have the fight in you.
Well, the thing is, if you have a lot of people like you coming at you, and they all hyped up about you and kind to you and everything, and all of a sudden you see them on TV and they're bad-mouthing you, it's like, what the hell? That's not what we said. You know? So it's just like I've kind of become callous to you and people like you.
Yeah.
I don't hate you, but it's just like I'm...
No offense taken. Don't worry about it. I get it. I'm a journalist. It's my job to be tough, so you need to understand that, right?
I'm cautious about you.
Of
because
course.
They've screwed me in the past.
As I am about you. Because it's our jobs.
And I promise, unless you marry me, I'll kill you. I'm making a joke.
I will guarantee you that it's not going to happen, my friend.
Okay.
It is a little weird to have 4 wives, you know?
Not really.
Yeah, it is.
I see a lot of... Well, in your world, in my world, it's not.
How many people do you know that had 4 wives?
A few.
How many people do you know that had 4 wives and 2 of them are either dead or suspiciously missing?
Just me.
Yeah. See what I mean?
That I know.
But you see what I mean?
And that's fine.
Unless you marry me, I won't kill you? Seriously? Look, I am loath to give a convicted killer legal advice, but if you're trying to get a new trial, might be an idea to lay off the jokes about wife killing. Just saying. Coming up, a serial killer whose depraved MO, bind, torture, kill, gave him his nickname BTK. Dennis Rader sent me a letter from deep inside his prison walls in Kansas. And one of the nation's foremost experts on serial killers, and Dennis himself, is going to join me to help decode the very unusual things he wrote. That's next. Get a letter from Caveland. I mean, I've heard of Birdland and Chicagoland and Fantasyland, and just a few days ago, I learned where Caveland is. It's at the El Dorado Correctional Facility in Kansas. More specifically, it is Dennis Rader's prison cell. Caveland, where Dennis Rader hangs his hat, or his towel, or his jumpsuit, or whatever you hang in your cell. That's what he calls his cell, and he wrote me a letter from there, specifically referencing it. He is, of course, the infamous serial killer known as BTK, which stands for bind, torture, kill, which is what he did to his victims. And he is literally rotting in Caveland for the rest of his life for doing that to at least 10 people, murdering them in the most gruesome way. Correspondence seems to have helped him pass the time, but much of the handwritten letter that he sent to me is really hard to make out. Here's a little bit of what we've been able to decipher, and I'm not going to lie, I was a little surprised because he wrote, "I'm aware of you." Plus, at one time, watched NewsNation in between CNN and Fox. Always enjoyed the program. To bring you up to speed on me, he says, on 12/31/2025, we'll call it quits. BTK, etc. Plus retire. We'll only correspond with roughly 15% of who I correspond with today. Age soon 79 plus, as you well know. I'm famous around the world. I live alone at cell B1-140 here at EDCF. That's the El Dorado Correctional Facility. 18 plus years. Was arrested 2/25/2005, 19 years ago. I live in segregation, sort of called whole. We as inmates have a lot of restrictions, yet I have TV, phone, books, magazines, etc. Play chess by mail or phone. So Dennis Rader plans on retiring. You heard it here first. Retiring. I also want to read you how he groups or labels people with whom he corresponds. It's kind of interesting. He writes, and this is very tricky to understand, so you're going to have to bear with me. Quote, to break my correspondence down into downward arrow, A, club, that's 8 to 10 member, dash funds. B, core, bread and butter, funds people. C, past correspondence, but not quite core. Weeding them out in 2024. I'll weed out core plus some club come 2025. D, new wannabe correspondence. 60 to 70% of letters that come in. F, dead on arrival people. M, for media like you, plus V for vendor, and cross for church. He goes on to say that the best way to correspond with him is to put funds into an account so that he can text. And here's where I bring in Catherine Ramsland. As you know, she is a forensic psychologist and author of several books, including Confessions of a Serial Killer, The Untold Story of Dennis Rader, the BTK Killer. Dr. Ramsland corresponds regularly with Dennis Rader. So, Catherine, what's your take on the letter? It's so cryptic to me, but I feel like you understand it better.
Well, he likes to give instructions. That's one thing. And he's telling you how it's best to talk with him, communicate with him. He's willing to talk by phone, but you have to set up your phone number in the way the protocol demands from IC Solutions. He's trying to convey to you what his daily life is like and how he keeps busy and what's available to him. So, and to let you know that he's aware of you and he's watched the show. He talks about his favorite puzzle book. He talks about the people that he most often corresponds with, the ones he counts on. But yeah, the retirement thing is about he's just tired. He has a hard time writing. He understands his writing has deteriorated, as you saw, and is hard for people to read. So he's cutting back on how many people he's writing letters to. But still, he'll text with people, and he will call people if they put money on his funds.
And when you say money on his funds, not for his enjoyment or his commissary, it's money to be able to have the communication, correct?
Yeah, like I have a phone fund, and that's the only thing it's for is for him to call me.
Okay. So I got a couple of questions, still more on the retirement. Is that literally what he's saying? I'm going to retire. I'm going to cut people out of my circles and never engage again? Or is he threatening me as if to say, if you don't put money on and start engaging with me, you're out?
Well, it's no threat. It's just the way it is. That's the way that you have to communicate through the prison system. And not threatening you at all. In fact, I just talked to him right before the show, and he was very eager to hear back from you. So that's the retirement is really about cutting back on how much he's corresponding to people. And he's been saying it for several years, so I don't really know if he's going to do it.
I'm going to put two questions in one here just because I'm tight on time. That is that it's so cryptic, and it's also filled with mistakes, grammatical errors, spelling errors, etc. Is that always what he's been like, or is he slipping? And then, more importantly, why does he not? He's always been like, okay, that's interesting.
Yes.
Why did he say, don't ask me about the crimes? It's already been all said. Does he literally not want to go over those crimes again because he's bored of it, or is he ashamed?
No, I think he thinks it's already been out there. There's plenty on it out there. He'd rather have you ask him things that haven't been asked before. He'd rather talk about things that he hasn't talked about. And I think that's really all it is he's done plenty of talking. He doesn't see the need to do it again. And
yet the number one question is, how does your mind tick if you can do things like you've done? Why is it that you had a proclivity to do it and the rest of us, we don't? I don't know if I'm going to get any further than you do, Catherine, but I'm going to give it my darndest. I'll write him back. Thank you for this. I appreciate your translating and also your insight. I'll ask you back for sure. Okay, thanks. Reminder to all of you, Dr. Ramsland's latest book is The Serial Killer's Apprentice, the true story of how Houston's deadliest murderer turned a kid into a killing machine. It's available for pre-order right now. Still to come, different killer, different letters from jail. And yes, plural, letters. The thrill killer known as Happy Face has written me a few times now, and each letter was a little more strange than the last. His real name is Keith Jesperson, and he's told me all kinds of things, including the perks he's getting in prison, his correspondence with other infamous killers and suspected killers, and you are going to hear it all, every nitty-gritty detail, coming up next.
On Balance with Leland Bittert. Tough questions.
You're telling me this doesn't have anything to do with politics?
No agendas.
It doesn't matter what party you're in. When the American president speaks, it matters.
On Balance with Leland Bittert, the fairest show on television. Weeknights at 6, only on America's fastest growing cable news network, NewsNation. Watch NewsNation on Xfinity Channel 223, DirecTV Channel 307, and Dish Channel 207, or stream NewsNation on Apple CarPlay and Alexa.
It's been said that when someone you love has Parkinson's, you have Parkinson's.
The Parkinson's Foundation knows that the disease doesn't just affect the diagnosed. It affects everyone who supports and helps care for them.
If you have questions, the Parkinson's Foundation has answers.
We can help you understand the disease
and give you tips for living a better life.
Find your answers at parkinson.org or call 1-800-473-4636. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
Over the last few years, things have gotten weird.
And for our kids, these things can be overwhelmingly stressful.
Scientific research
and real-life experience
tell us that the number one antidote to stress is authentic, trusted relationships.
So that's why I
am committed to building and maintaining a trusted space.
This is a trusted space.
Access free films and resources to build trusted spaces in your schools and communities at atrustedspace.org.
Stand Up to Cancer asked leading cancer researchers to speak about why they do their work.
Two words come to mind for me. One is responsibility. The other is purpose.
It's just so inspiring to do research that impacts human lives.
Stand Up to Cancer has been a critical partner in advancing research for cancer.
Cancer research saves lives.
So please, help us fight in this battle against cancer.
Be a part of the team that ends cancer at standuptocancer.org.
I'm Scarlett Johansson. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. You can join the movement to end hunger by donating, volunteering, and advocating. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
I need some extra money. Do I qualify for the Earned Income Tax Credit?
Use the EITC Assistant tool. With just a little information, this tool helps you calculate eligibility with ease and accuracy, get an estimate of how much credit you qualify for, and get a printout of your results before you prepare your return or visit your tax preparer. To use the EITC Assistant tool and see if you're eligible to claim a credit, visit irs.gov/EITC.
You're listening to Banfield on NewsNation. To find NewsNation on your screen, go to joinnn.com.
When people ask us who we are, we tell them we're problem solvers, opportunity creators, and change makers. We are Rotary. Around the world, our network of 1.4 million neighbors, friends, and leaders volunteer their skills and resources to solve issues and address community needs. Take action with us. Find out more at rotary.org/action.
Every child deserves the best teachers, facilities, and academic programs to set them up for success. At Milton Hershey School in Hershey, Pennsylvania, we make that a reality for children from qualifying families who are looking for greater opportunities. Milton Hershey School enrolls students from pre-K through 12th grade from across the United States to live and learn on a beautiful state-of-the-art campus with all costs covered. Are you looking to set your child up for success or know a child who could benefit from Milton Hershey School? Learn more at mhskids.org/admissions.
At YMCA Summer Camp, kids find their why. Friendship and fun, a world of adventure beneath a golden sun. Running, laughing, full of wonder. Being themselves is second nature. Summer camp is where they begin to unlock the confidence that lies within. When kids find new passions, they find their why. Summer camp season starts soon. Learn more at ymca.org for a better us.
I think we can all agree that if you are a serial killer with at least 8 kills confirmed and as many as 185 kills claimed, you should be serving hard time. And the harder, the better. But the truth is you might not. I know this because the killer in question is my pen pal. Keith Jesperson, better known as the Happy Face Killer. He is serving multiple life sentences in Oregon, and in the past month alone, he has sent me multiple letters. And if I had to pick one word to describe them, it would probably have to be like fascinating. Happy Face describes in detail the perks that he's getting in prison, including mini golf and Xbox, just to name a few. And he insists that it is now safe to let him back out into society, to roam about the cabin with the rest of us. Spoiler, that ain't happening. And this is where the letter gets really good, because he tells me how he's spending his time as a convicted serial killer, like the whole schedule of his everyday. Here's what he says. OSP, Oregon State Prison, and Oregon's prison system is based on incentives, things that can be taken away if we do bad things. Clear conduct is rewarded. I'm sort of an icon in here. All the guards know me, and most of the inmates. What is my day like? I live in a single cell in D block, D160. At about 6:15 a.m., my cell door opens, and I walk to breakfast. Return is 30 minutes or so. I could go to the yard at 8 a.m. to 9:15 a.m. Most days, I stay in my cell doing artwork and watching TV. Perry Mason comes on at 9 a.m. Me TV. We have a count at 10:30 a.m. At around 11:15, we start lunch. At around 1:15 p.m., afternoon yard. Usually I go to my job when afternoon yard is over. Normal work schedule starts at 2:30 p.m. My work is in the clothing room. I've had the job now for about 14 years. Back in my cell by 3:30 p.m. for count at 4 p.m. Supper starts at 5 p.m. After the meal, I go to work until 8 p.m. But most nights we're done by 7:30 p.m. I rush home to watch, I thought he was going to say Banfield, but he said Gutfield on Fox. He watches Greg Gutfield. Okay. After which I tune into a country song station to listen to Willie Nelson's Roadhouse. Saw him in person back in 1985 and 1987. Sleep comes at 9 p.m. Just a quick aside there. Can you imagine if you were at that concert? Either one of those concerts with Willie Nelson's 85 and 87 Roadhouse concerts? You were there with the Happy Face Killer. Ooh. Okay, as it turns out, the real reason that his schedule is like that is because there are plumbing issues in the honor block. And the honor block is where he's usually housed. I want you to listen to how Jesperson, who again is serving multiple life sentences for killing 8 women, describes the honor block. This is what he writes. At 5:30 a.m., my door opens and stays open until 10:30 count and 4:30 count and 9 p.m. count up until 11 p.m. I have a lock on my door and a key on me. When we leave our cells, we can lock them with our lock. We have our own showers, pop machine, telephones, microwave ovens, exercise equipment, Xbox, TVs, 190-degree water, tablet, and I'm sure I'm leaving something out. Kiosks for video visits. And that, by the way, is just sort of like inside the warm prison walls. Here's how he describes the outside rec yard, which I thought was fascinating. He writes, we have a grandstand set up for bands, like musical bands, to come in and entertain us. I think of Johnny Cash, right, at Folsom Prison. Every year we have a custom bike and car show that comes in. Runners from all over the country run in our events. 5K, 10K, 15K. You can go online. We have a 1/4-mile paved track, 2 baseball fields, volleyball area, 8 horseshoe pits. First thing I thought of. And he says they are real steel horseshoes. We have an 18-hole putt-putt golf course. Got handball courts, 2 full outside basketball courts, 2 weight training areas, 40 phones, 30 benches to sit on. Inside our card room, which is seen in the opening scenes of Bandits movie starring Bruce Willis and Billy Bob Thornton, we have TVs for movies and sports. We have shuffleboards, pool tables, ping pong tables, 30 card tables, phones, soda machines, coffee machines, exercise equipment, full inside basketball court, microwave ovens, a shower room, and a couple of heavy bags to hit. He's actually written advice for Rex Heuermann, that Long Island serial killer suspect. Jesperson says that Rex Heuermann should really, quote, solve himself and confess so that he can bargain to get a better prison like the one Jesperson is in Oregon State. That's the penitentiary he's in, Oregon State. He told me some of that himself. I want to read it to you word for word. It's super interesting. Okay. He says this: when I wrote to Rex Heuermann, I pushed him hard to own his crimes and force a deal to come here to OSP, Oregon State Prison, to do his time. That is his only real option. Deal to be placed in a prison away from harsh New York's system. We get inmates from other states for a host of reasons. A stand-your-ground case out of Florida, Mike is here. We've had parts of the Manson family and mob hitmen. Why? Easier to take them out of state than to deal with the security issues. Sent Rex my everyday schedule and store items we can purchase, a menu, and what our yard has to offer. He writes this next part, which I thought was really crazy. He says, I feel if I were let go, I'd never commit another crime. Freedom seems so special to me. Over the years, I've talked to several, I'm assuming inmates, who would be getting out after 30 years or so. Most are angry and want some kind of payback, only to leave prison and put it all behind them. Time behind bars has cured me. I am no longer that person that put me in here. Nevertheless, he does acknowledge he is not going to be getting out, ever, never. And that his daughter, a prolific TV producer named Melissa Moore, is going to make sure that he is not forgotten. He says that the book his daughter wrote about him is being turned into a TV show and that he is going to be played by Dennis Quaid. And we now have confirmation that project is actually happening. Variety reports that Happy Face, starring Dennis Quaid, will begin shooting in the next few weeks in Vancouver, Canada. Coming up next, what if you had less than a week to live? What would you be thinking? What would you be doing? What would you hope to do? Michael Smith has only 6 days left on Earth. The convicted double murderer has a date with lethal injection, April 4th in the morning, but he is not going quietly. In an exclusive interview, Smith describes his long years on death row, the barbaric crimes that put him there, and why he says the state of Oklahoma is about to execute the wrong man. But are they? That's next.
Leaf works fast and lasts a full 24 hours, so Dave can be the
deliverer of dance.
Okay, Dave. Let's be more than our allergies. Seize the day with Zyrtec.
Imagine what it would be like to know that you had less than a week to live. Like this is your last Friday night with friends. And no more Sunday church services after this weekend. Michael Smith is very well aware that he has only 6 days left to live. And before I go any further, you should know that most people who know Michael Smith's story have absolutely no problem with him dying. Because Smith is a convicted murderer twice over, and his murders were sickening. He's been on death row in Oklahoma for the past 2 decades, and he is set to be executed by lethal injection 10 a.m. Thursday morning, April 4th. But before he takes that final walk, he is speaking to us. He gave an exclusive interview by phone to our producer, Christopher Maloney, and here is some of that conversation.
The date of your execution is set for April 4th. Do you have feelings about that? Is it always on your mind? Do you try to ignore it?
No, actually, I don't think I think about it as much as people would think I would, but I think it's more about the actual fight, instead about the actual date. It's just I'm still fighting and still praying and hoping that I can survive, so I really ain't thinking about dying.
And the fight, I guess, is about the your lawyers have been trying to show that you might have an intellectual disability, whereas the state says your scores, your IQ scores, are too high. Are you able to comment on that at all?
Actually, my fight is about my innocence first and foremost. But I think my intellectual disability claim in my case is just one of the factors. But the issue with my intellectual disability claim is that my attorney at the time, my post-conviction attorney, didn't actually file a claim or submit the claim into my post-conviction application. That's why I was denied before they changed the law. It made me legally, my scores higher than they illegal now. Not actually. See, what happened was before, like in 2006, they changed the law in Oklahoma, stating that if you got any score over 76, you're not eligible for actions relief. So in 2005, a guy with my exact same score that was actually on Oklahoma's death row with me actually got relief with the exact same score that I got in 2005.
Do you think that if your attorney had filed those papers, you would have been taken off death row?
I think I would have been eligible for a hearing.
And I just want to ask you about the other part of what you said. You talked about your innocent part. The prosecutors have said that, I guess, the evidence against you was overwhelming. The crimes were a store clerk was shot, and then his body was lit on fire, and then another woman was killed because she wouldn't stop screaming. Are you saying that you didn't do those things that you've been convicted of?
Absolutely, I'm saying that. I've always said that I gave a false confession under the influence of PPP after being prematurely released from the psych ward area of the Oklahoma County Jail. That's how I was actually interrogated, and I gave these false statements. So as far as the evidence against me, it's basically only 4 pieces of evidence ever against me. It was always my confession. 2 people stated that I confessed to them that I committed the crime, and a woman that identified me, that ID'd me at the store shortly before the store clerk was killed. But my confession, my initial to the crime, it consisted with the actual fact of the crime. My argument in the trial was always that I confessed to something that I was told, not to something I did. I basically confessed to a rumor, and while I was intoxicated off PPP.
If that's true and the person's out there, what do you think is the appropriate punishment if they find that person for these crimes?
That's between him and God. I'm not the judge or the jury. I couldn't imagine putting this or any kind of punishment on another man, especially not this. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. I know death sentence. This is cruel and unusual.
And you've been on death row for more than 20 years now. Could you just sort of tell me, like, what is that life like? Like, what are your days like?
It's real slow and real quiet down there. It's real peaceful down there. So I can't say what I couldn't even explain. You know what I mean? Because you get solitary confinement every day. You feel it's a different feel. I feel like it does feel like a different. Like you're a different type of human being when you do solitary confinement so many times, so many days, and so many years. You get so used to being trapped. You know what I mean? So I really couldn't even explain how my day-to-day is because I'm so used to it. But it's a slow pace, real quiet, on TV, reading, writing, trying to fight and stressing. You know what I mean? So I couldn't really say exactly.
Right. Do you have interaction with the other death row inmates at all? Are you allowed to talk to them and communicate?
Yeah, we talk a lot. We always been.
Do you guys talk about, impending possibility of being executed ever?
Mostly we really just help one another with issues and trying to figure out a way out. So we don't really talk about dying. We just talk about fighting. That's all we really discuss. It's all about the fight.
Do you think you've changed over the last 20 years? Are you a different person than the person who went in?
Absolutely. I was a kid back then. I was 19 years old when I was arrested. So I'm 41 now. So I'm still nothing like I was when I was 19 years old. I was a kid back then. The regular inner city kid.
Have you ever thought about, if you could give advice to your younger self, what you would say?
Yeah, I know I'd say stay in school and stay in sports. Simple. Stay in school and stay in sports.
And will you have any family or friends, if the execution does happen, as witnesses for you?
I don't think my people can take that type of experience as far as seeing me get executed. I don't want to experience that either.
And have you thought about what you might want to have as last words? Is there a message that you want to leave?
No, I ain't thought about that. I ain't thought that far.
And that is all the time that I have for you tonight, but I hope you have a great Friday night and an even better weekend. I'll see you on Monday, so stay tuned, though. FOMO is next.